Right.
I'm just going to assume you are. All right. Let's see. There we go. Here we go. Hey, everybody, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. Well, today we have actual plant-based royalty on the show, and they've been doing great things in the world for a long time, but they're here today to talk about their newest venture, and these are called PlantPure Meal Starter Kits. They're really cool because it's like a bag of plant-based, nutritious food that doesn't require that much of you to make a delicious meal on the table. And we're going to show you all the different flavors, and Kim is going to maybe even show you ways to use it. But this is very, very cool. And I'm very excited about this product, especially when we start traveling again, because I think that even my husband could figure out how to tear the bag open and use it. So please welcome to the show, Nelson and Kim Campbell. Thanks so much for coming on.
Hi, AJ.
Yeah, thanks so much, AJ, for having us on your show.
Oh, well, we love the Campbells. Are you kidding? But trying to get your sister, she had to cancel because she was stuck somewhere. But I mean, I'm trying to your brother's really tough though. Tom, boy, he don't even talk to me anymore, barely.
Yeah, he's pretty busy. I just talked to him yesterday, and he's submitting a grant to NIH for a very large study of cancer patients and seeing whether or not diet can be used in their treatment.
That is fantastic. No, I was just kidding. I love your whole family, but Tom, you're right. He's so busy. And we have people on the show already that have used your meal starters. Tiffany says, these meals are absolutely delicious. The African stew is my favorite. They're all amazing. So I know you had, maybe you still have the frozen food line. What gave you this idea? And tell us about all your ventures, actually, because I haven't talked to you in a long time, Nelson.
Well, AJ, yeah, we've been pretty quiet actually the last few years. We've been doing a lot of work behind the scenes. This all started quite a long time ago, well before we made PlantPure Nation, our film. I had a kind of a vision for how we could, develop a grassroots strategy to help get this health message out to more people in the mainstream. And it included a number of different elements: food, education, wellness programming, some kind of web platform that could be used to connect people and enable people to take action and share the message. And it also included organizing people. So we've been working on all of those things. A lot of this has happened since the release of our film, PlantPure Nation. And actually, I made PlantPure Nation to create a platform that we could stand on to execute all of this stuff. And we now have two organizations. One is the business PlantPure, and then we have a nonprofit, PlantPure Communities. And you may remember at the end of our film, we had a call to action for people to form local support groups and advocacy groups. And we call these groups pods, and people answer that call to action. We have a large number of these groups now and over 250,000 people involved. And so then I started the nonprofit PlantPure Communities to help support that pod network. Then in PlantPure, we focused on the food, the education, the wellness programming, and a new web platform that we've recently launched, just done a soft launch, that provides group functionality and then enables groups to access project ideas, strategies, resources, media. And this is the platform that we're going to use to help launch this holistic kind of grassroots strategy later this year. And so, as I mentioned, a part of all of this has been food. And we have been, over the past few years, we've done a lot of work with frozen foods. And we now have frozen entrees in supermarkets. But we've had this idea for these meal starters going back quite a while ago. And the reason that we were interested in the idea of these dry packs is because we think that this, in fact, we've kind of figured this out, this is the most affordable way to get a plant-based diet to people, is through these kinds of products. We can produce these in high volume, at relatively low cost, and then people can add the fresher frozen produce to quickly make a meal. And we wanted to make this affordable for a mainstream market, but also we have a philanthropic intent behind these products. We are still working hard to get our business on a firm financial footing, But what we envision for the future is taking these products and providing them into underserved communities, waiving 100% of our profit margin. So we have to figure out strategies for how we're going to do that. And we have some ideas. But the goal for us is to make plant-based eating the most affordable way for people in these communities to eat, so that even if you're subsisting with you're relying on your EBT card to pay your grocery bill, you'll be able to afford these products and live plant-based. So that's really the story behind the meal starter products. And
I think it's a brilliant idea. I think it's a brilliant idea. Even if it wasn't philanthropic, it's a great idea because people are really looking for fast.
Yes.
Yes.
Do you want to say something about what these are?
We have, how many now? 10, 11?
Well, we have 10 entrees, 2 dressings, and then 2 sides.
Right. I
Yeah.
have to remember because there's so many of them. So today, what I wanted to do is just to demonstrate to you how very, very easy this is. This goes back to when our kids were little. I remember doing kind of meal kits for them. And I'd put everything in a big gallon baggie, stick it in the refrigerator, and our oldest would go in and make African stew, and everything was already all done. So I love the idea of a kit. Meal kits are really fun, but these are super easy to make and really, really tasty. So I'm going to go ahead. That way we can start cooking and you can ask questions as we go along. The first one I'm going to make is the baked potato soup, and I think we sent this one to AJ too, as far as I know.
Yes, I think you got some samples, right, AJ?
Yeah, I do. I know. It's funny because it's funny that when I was looking on the website of all the ones I wanted to try, I thought this would be the best one for me, and amazing because all the ingredients I already have in my house. I've got non-dairy milk. I've always got water. I always have potatoes and an onion. Sometimes I don't have celery, but most of the time I do. So this is great. And they're low in fat too, which is what I love.
So this one, you just put 2.5 cups of water in the pan. I did sort of pre-cook the potato, and I chopped up an onion and some celery. But I just want to say that you can buy this in the frozen section. You don't even need to cut. You can just go to the frozen section, and I don't know about you, but my freezer is full of onions and peppers and peas and a lot of the basic components. So all you're going to do is I put 2.5 cups of water, your onion and celery. That's it. Nelson's going to have to do the next part. And then your potato, and turn it on. That's it. I actually asked him to cook the other night, and you made a meal starter. Do you remember?
I did. I would have learned how to cook better a long time ago, but she so loves to cook that in our house, she won't let me cook, but I do all the dishes. So
you do.
Yes, and she makes a big mess.
I do. So this is in the pack is all the good stuff that makes it taste great. And what's so cool about this is you can customize it. I mean, let's say you want to use sweet potatoes, or let's say you don't want to use potatoes. You want to use a lot of carrots. You can do that too. So you're going to put that in the blender. And you see that milk? That's 1.5 cups of milk. I want you to blend it with the milk. The reason I wanted to show the baked potato soup one is because you can do so many other things with it. So I made scalloped potatoes with it. And that was awesome. I love scalloped potatoes. And then I made a nacho cheese sauce, which I wanted to share. I'm going to put it under the camera so you can see. I don't know why, but I just kind of went crazy with this meal pack. You just cook a potato and some carrots and an onion, throw it in the blender, and that's what we ended up with. I think it needs maybe some chili spices and chili peppers, but that is so good. And you can put it on potatoes. You can put it on, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I was going to say, that's what I like about this is that there's a recipe on the back, but then, you can get those other recipes on our website. And we have over 30, did you say we have over 30?
We have 30 recipes 30 recipes all around these meal starters. So I'm always trying to come up with what can you do with it instead of just making what's on the back of the bag. We made a split pea hummus. I know it sounds strange, but it was so good. It was really sweet.
And you actually did a split pea. Did you do a burger with that? Or we didn't put that on the website?
No, we didn't. I've done that before because I do weird things with food, but trying to think of what all we have done with these
Yeah.
meal starters, but we've made burritos with the Caribbean beans. I made a curry with the pasta Alfredo, which I'm going to demonstrate that. But I want to just put this in the blender real quick, so I can turn the volume down a little bit. Oops, I unplugged it today.
You know, Kim, I have an idea. You should run a contest for people, whoever has the best recipe that's not the recipe. You know what I mean? Using the meal starters.
Yeah,
Good idea.
we actually have Brian Kroc is doing. He actually took the potato soup and he's creating something now, which is twice baked potatoes, I think. But that's a great idea, AJ. I get a lot of people involved.
Yeah, and then the winner wins like a week's supply or something like that.
I know.
Yeah.
That's good enough because it's just milk and a dry. But, you know, I think this gives people ownership in their food, just to cook it a little bit. And I know there's a lot of stuff up here. It's just because I wanted to show you a lot, but it really, really is simple. So I turned that on. We're going to let it cook a little bit. And then I want to do the Alfredo. So the Alfredo comes with the pasta, whole wheat pasta. And so I cooked that up earlier. And then there's a sauce.
But we're not going to do that yet, right?
Yeah, we're going to do it while
that's cooking.
Why not? I'm going to kind of go crazy here today. Probably feel a little crazy too.
Kim, are these all of your recipes that you made up for this line?
A lot of them are. We initially had some help from a friend, Fernando Peralta, and so I have to give him some credit here. He did a great job. And then we used a lot of the recipes from PlantPure Nation. We used recipes from the Jumpstart. So yeah, it's definitely got our stamp on it for sure.
Nice, because I never even heard of arepas. Those look amazing. I've never heard of arepas before, if I'm saying it correctly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, what's exciting about this, AJ, is actually, as I said before, it's these taste great, and it's the affordability. Even at full price, the average cost of a serving plus the add-ins is less than $3 a serving. And then when we use this in the philanthropic way that I mentioned, and we waive our profit margin, plus by then we're going to have more volume. We're going to get a lower cost of producing these. We think we'll be able to get the average serving price down between maybe $1.25 to $1.50, which includes the add-ins. So for those folks who are struggling and who need food like this, you know, this is going to be a great option.
Yeah.
Diane says, I'm eating the Creole beans and rice and stuffed peppers right now.
Oh yeah, that's right. I actually put the Creole beans in a pepper and put it in the oven. That was a good recipe. All right, so for the Alfredo, so I chose two of the ones that we really like. I love this potato and then the Alfredo. I kind of chose one that took a little more work and then one that was just super easy cooking for dummies. So you're just going to put 2.5 cups of a plant-based milk in here. I'm going to turn it on. I think it's on. Yep, it's on. And then you put your pack in. That's it. And then you can put vegetables in, mixed vegetables, any kind of vegetable you want. It can be, I had a California blend. I had another one that's frozen. But if you want and you're cooking, you know, fresh out of your garden, you could certainly put fresh things in there too. So you just throw your vegetables in there and let it go. That's it. That's all there is to it.
So simple.
Yep. And so this is starting to boil, and I'm going to go ahead and add the creamy sauce to it. And that's it. You have to let it cook for a little while, but really that's it. And it'll get thick as you cook it, and this will too. They start out a little funky, but if you just keep cooking them, going at it, they thicken really nicely. The other thing that I want to do is we have two meal packs that have cheeses in them, and one is a macaroni and cheese, and the other one is the Alfredo. And I keep telling Nelson, we need a pack for just cheese. That way you can make that.
Yeah, we've already got some ideas for how we're going to start expanding the line. So, you know, eventually we may have 20 or more of these products.
Wow. Which one is the best seller so far?
Yeah, which one? I'm curious. Do we know? Is it the mushroom?
We have one that's a mushroom stew dish that seems to be really popular. Of course, the Alfredo and the mac and cheese, people like that. So, but we just launched, so we're just now getting some, you know, early data back. So I don't really know yet which one is going to be the most popular. But
I also think what's nice about these is they're customizable. And I know that we talk to a lot of people where not everybody in the family is plant-based. You know, maybe mom is, dad isn't, a couple of the kids are. This is the kind of thing that you could make these meals and then you can customize it for that person. I'm not suggesting that you buy meat and put it in your food, but if you want to just make one meal, I think you can adjust it. Because we had an exchange student one time who ate meat. And I did a little of that for him. And then I decided I wasn't going to buy it at all.
then, no, we didn't.
No, that was a long time ago. But it's very customizable. You can see it's starting to dissolve here and it'll thicken. There.
So AJ, you've been pretty busy. Kim likes to especially watch your shows, and it seems like you do this almost every day.
I have not missed a day since March 20th, sometimes doing 2 or even 3 a day. I planned to just do it while the pandemic was going on. I had no idea it was going to last this long. And then people kept wanting to come on. So I'm booked right now till June 2nd. And hopefully things will open up. But I'm having such a great time doing it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So you do this on the weekends too?
Yep. I have 7 days a week. Yep. And it's been great. And I'm meeting so many people that I might not have ever met even without the pandemic, because, you know, I can't be everywhere. I can't go to every conference. So there's a lot of really great people like you guys doing great things in their own little corners of the world, not just even in the United States. So it's been nice.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
You know, one of the things the pandemic has done for me, Nelson and I used to we'd go out for dinner and try new restaurants every Friday or Saturday. That was just something we always did. Sometimes we would go have breakfast before church or after church, and we would sit out on the patio at the market, and there was music, and there were people and dogs around, and I really miss that. But we have spent a lot less money on food, and we've been doing a lot more of our own cook. Well, I cook all the time, but just, you know, spending our Friday evenings together. Nelson actually cooks a little bit, and it's been nice. I'm looking forward to seeing people and going back to the co-op and having breakfast with you. But I think the pandemic's kind of, it's been an interesting time.
Yeah, I actually wonder if, you know, because we've all experienced what it means to be cut off from each other, whether when you're after the pandemic, you're going to see a lot more interest in people coming together and doing things in their community. And, you know, I hope that's what happens, because I think that's really what we're missing. You know, I think we are, by definition, we're social animals. And I think we need to figure out, you know, how to rebuild and strengthen our communities, get involved in our communities. And in fact, that's what this new platform is about that we've created. It's at opentribe.com. And it's really intended to encourage people to come together in groups and then to do things in their communities. So we've already loaded in a few projects, and then over the course of time, we'll be adding a whole lot more, you know, many more projects to that. Maybe someday we'll have thousands of projects and hundreds of campaigns. Yeah. Because right now the focus is on plant-based, but, you know, you could have a campaign focused on homelessness, or a campaign focused on cleaning up, you know, the environment in the community where you live, the streams and different things. But it's intended to get people together and then give them project ideas, strategies, and then resources that they can use as groups to do things in their communities. And
that time is coming.
Yeah,
it's coming.
and I think it's a good time for that, because
Yeah.
we've all been so isolated from one another. And you know, the other thing is, I think a lot of us, I know I can speak for myself, you know, kind of tired of you know, some of the national politics that goes on. And what I'm hoping that we can do through this campaign that we're launching, and hopefully others are going to be joining with us, is to demonstrate how it's possible to get things done at the local level in a community. Because I've always been a big believer that, you know, if we're gonna heal this world, we have to do it from the bottom up. We have to figure out how to empower our communities to make change. You know, we can't just sit back and look at the world falling apart through our TV screens or computer screens, or look to government to fix everything. We have to come together at the local level. And of course, if we're going to do this in a big way, you know, we need a whole new paradigm where resources go into our communities, you know, instead of some distant place and we don't know what happens to those resources. We need to figure out how to reroute them to our local communities, and you know, so we can come together to fix problems. But if you're interested in that, you can go to opentribe.com. We just did a soft launch. We wanted to make sure that there weren't any bugs or anything. And we also have a media feed. You know, over the course of this year, later this year, we're going to be doing more media that will be streaming through it. And the idea is that we're going to be working on is looking for stories that might inspire people in the network. So we'll be looking for people, you know, social entrepreneurs who've done interesting things, and then we'll highlight those stories and share them with the rest of the network.
Yeah, I'm on the Open Tribe page right now. It looks great. There's a bunch of wonderful interviews and recipes like carrot cake pancakes with peachy ginger compote. Looks and all guys, all those links are in the show notes. Everything we're talking about, the link to purchase the products and to check out Open Tribe. So we do have some questions from viewers, and here they are. This is a really good one from Katie. I just saw it about how you had the idea. Can you talk about how you got from the idea of the meal starters to actually manufacturing them? There must have been some food scientists involved.
There were.
Yeah. So.
You want to talk about the first line we had?
Yeah. So, producing food is actually really difficult. You know, you start out with the recipe.
Yeah, it's nothing like.
But in order to create something that is actually producible on a mass scale, you know, it's difficult to do. There's so many variables that go into it, and of course, if you're doing frozen food, it's almost more difficult.
Yeah. What I thought was going to be a great frozen meal, we would pass it off to Marsanne, and it was awful. It was a nightmare. I mean, there's little things like gluten-free pasta, potatoes. I always wanted to have potatoes in the frozen meals. We couldn't get those in. Thickeners, they behave differently. Spices, you freeze them and they get hotter after they've been frozen. So there's a lot of food science to, you know, manufactured food.
Yeah, and then you've got to be able to source all the ingredients on a mass scale. So you have to, you know, there's a lot of sourcing issues to be figured out. There's packaging, which is can be kind of complicated. And then there's the actual production. So, you know, unless you have, you know, millions of dollars, you typically work with a co-packer. And we have some really good co-packing partners, outstanding co-packing partners. And so we have the ability to do this at scale. But there's a lot that goes into this. It took us over 2 years to do this line, 2 to 3 years.
Yeah.
So it's not for the faint-hearted.
And people are asking, I'm sorry. People are asking for nutritional information. It's on every packet, but they can also look at the website if they want to know individually each offering.
If you go to the website and you go to the meal starters, they'll all come up. All the pictures of the meal starters come up. Just click on the meal that you're interested in, and it'll pop up with the nutritionals and the ingredients, and you can get all your information that way.
Yeah. The other thing we just did is we just added a composite. So it's really important when you look at nutritionals that you don't look at the nutritionals of just one thing that you're eating during the day. And my dad is always saying this and always talking about this. We have to look holistically at the diet that we eat over the course of a day and the course of a week. And so what we did is we took all of our meal starters and then we averaged out the nutritionals. So we had a composite to put into this. And then we mapped out a day. So we have oatmeal and fruit, and then we have snacks and we have sides to go with the meal starter. So we put all this together, a kind of a daily menu, and that's up on the website. And then we calculated.
We just put that up.
We just put that
right.
And we calculated the nutritionals for that daily menu. So that gives you a sense of if you had this on a regular basis, what would you be getting? And we weren't 100% sure how it would come out, but actually it came out really quite well. The fat calories as a percent of total calories, it ranges from, it depends on whether or not you include that handful of walnuts in your oatmeal. If you include your handful of walnuts in the oatmeal, it's just over 15%. I think it was actually around 17%. But if you exclude that, then I think it was 13%. So it depends on whether or not you incorporate that. And then sodium was 1,500 and some milligrams.
For the whole day.
And then sugar, added sugars was 1 gram, which is essentially a trace amount. Protein levels were good. And so overall, the composite nutritionals behind, if you were to live off of this is really good.
And I think too, if there's questions about the ingredients, we have frequently asked questions. So we've gotten a lot of interesting questions. So we put those questions into our frequently asked. So if there's something that you're wondering about, I would go there first and see if there's an answer, because we put a lot of thought into a lot of these different questions.
Right. Well, Shirley Ann says, I'm dying to try your products. When will they be available in Canada? When I tried to order online at the beginning of the month, I was told you couldn't ship to Canada due to labeling guidelines. Has this been resolved?
Yeah, so this has really been very frustrating to us because we have a lot of friends in Canada. We have pods in Canada, and we would love nothing more than to be able to serve the Canadian market. But in order to do that, we have to have packaging that complies with labeling requirements there, which are quite different than labeling requirements here. And financially, we could only do one set of packages and production run for those packages. So we haven't been able to get the product to Canada yet, but it's on our radar. And when we're financially able to do so, we're going to do that.
Great. And we have some requests for Europe.
Well, we thought about that too. It would, one of the ideas that we've had is, we have this pretty packaging, but it's also possible we could go to transparent packaging and apply a label. If we did that, they wouldn't look as nice. It would look less professional, but it would be easier for us to, create labels for different regions. And then these are easy to ship. If you ship these in bulk, we could ship them to Europe for distribution there. So that's on our radar as well. We're just trying to get this launched and make it successful, but we do hope to take this overseas. That's
fantastic. Let's see, I saw another question. Where did it go? Oh, the question is will you ever do this for desserts or breakfasts?
Oh, I want to answer that question. Yeah. So I've always been excited about the idea of having a baker's blend. I want to call it a baker's blend because a lot of people want to have that treat now and then. They want to have that cookie, or they want to have that muffin, or the cake, whatever. You're making a birthday cake. And I don't think we should eat these things all the time, but having them available to people. So I'm right now in the midst of trying to create a baker's blend, and I want it to be gluten-free as well. That way you can just make pancakes with it or muffins or whatever, and there'll be different recipes for that. What was the other question more?
Breakfasts and desserts.
Breakfast. I haven't told Nelson this yet, but I really want to make a muesli blend. I make a really good muesli, don't I?
Yeah.
I mean, I put everything but the kitchen sink into it, and it's really good.
We have a fellow that comes to visit us, and he literally requests it every time he comes.
But I thought that would be a really nice option for breakfast. So those two are on my radar, and then a cheese sauce that would be super easy to make. So yeah, I mean, I'm always thinking of new things to provide.
And we have a plant-based mayonnaise that you can make using the creamy house dressing.
So I took this, which originally it has you adding tofu and water, and I'll put it over here, tofu and water, and you make a ranch dressing. And I thought, well, why couldn't you just add more tofu with this, with a little bit of water, and blend it up and get a mayonnaise? I put a little vinegar in it, and it was perfect. It tasted just like mayonnaise, so it was nice. We also have a raisin vinaigrette dressing, which is really nice if you like more of an Italian style. So, yeah.
Lori says, what have the people's favorites been?
I think this one's, the Alfredo has been very popular. The macaroni and cheese has been popular.
Actually, the potato soup. And then the mushroom stew. But, you know, people say they love the split pea soup as well. It's like I was saying before, it's a little early in our launch to know which ones are going to be the most popular, because people are just buying the 14-pack to try all of them. So it's a little hard to say.
Yeah, that makes sense. We have a request for Argentina, if they can be available in Argentina.
Yeah, we would love to do that, and that is our goal, to get these overseas for sure.
I think we have to make this food. We have to make food that's plant-based. We have to make food that's affordable, and we have to make food that tastes good, because we are never going to get the guy who's pulled into Bojangles to eat this way until we start doing this. Because I've fed a lot of people who are mainstream, you know, friends of mine and distant people who aren't plant-based. And I think this is a perfect line for them, because it's very flavorful, and it's a lot of it's comfort food. So I think we need to do that.
Yeah, and what was that? What is that one? Oh, our camera guy Brian is asking, what is this one?
So I took the potato soup, and I turned it into nacho sauce. So I took a cooked potato and some cooked carrots and a cooked onion, and I threw it all in the blender with some milk, and that's it. And, that's what I got.
With the spice pack, or
with the spice pack,
with the dry pack.
Yeah.
Actually, they're not really spice packs, because they include a lot more than just spices. So but that's, you know, that's my passion, is really getting this out to people, and kind of, you know, meeting people where they're at, and providing food that's really enjoyable, because this world has to go plant-based yesterday. Yeah, and you can, you know, if you want to have more produce in these, like with this one here, for example, so you want more vegetables and less sauce, that's easy to do. You can add, you know, twice as many veggies to that dish, and that, by the way, is going to have a huge impact on the nutritionals.
Right.
So that's what's nice about this, is, you know, you can pick the ones that you like or want, that are right for you, and if you want to add more vegetables, that's easy to do. So.
And they're forgiving. You know, our daughter made, I think it was this one, and she said, I didn't really have any milk, Mom, so I used a little bit of milk and a whole lot of water, and she said it came out perfect. So, and your mom always puts a ton of vegetables in everything, so she probably put twice as many vegetables in that. But I think you can really adjust it and customize it.
Someone said they made the coconut and mushroom, and it was delicious. And is the corn chowder not available? Because somebody's asking when it will be available.
Yeah. So.
You want me to tell that story?
Yeah. Well,
no?
I'll say what the issue was, and you can explain it, because you were involved in the creating the recipe. But I'll just say that whenever you do something like this, you know, the question before was about the food production. It's very complex, and every single time that we've ever launched anything, there's always one thing at least that goes wrong. And we had an issue with the corn chowder not matching up with the R&D samples that we had tasted. And so we decided to set those aside, and we're going to do another production run of those. But you can.
Can I
explain.
talk about the garbanzo
Yeah.
bean flour? Okay, so AJ knows this because you're a chef. Garbanzo bean flour, chickpea flour, if it's not cooked, it has a really strong, can have a very strong sort of soapy after flavor. So a lot of times people use garbanzo bean flour if they're making like, plant-based omelets, for example, or they're making something that's gluten-free and baked. And when you taste it raw, it has a really strong flavor. But when you bake it, it cooks off. It has to do with the enzymes, and the enzymes break down, you can no longer taste it. So I'm really sensitive to garbanzo bean flour. So we had somebody write in about it, and I cooked it, and I kind of tasted it. So I don't know whether it was they were using it pre-cooked or cooked or whatever, but it was an issue. So because instead of using garbanzo beans, we use garbanzo bean flour to thicken up the corn chowder. So that was what the problem was there. So we went back to the drawing table. We are working on it, and we are going to bring it back without the garbanzo bean flour. It's tricky stuff.
Mm. Well, somebody's asking, I don't think this is necessarily going to be possible, but Cheryl said, would it be possible to sell the frozen pre-chopped veggies that go with each package to be found in the frozen section of the grocery store for those who are short on time?
Yeah, so that's a really good
Nope.
question. Yeah, we actually wouldn't do that, but
It's a good idea.
we have connections in the produce industry. And one thought that we've had and we've talked about is maybe doing a partnership with one of those companies where they could customize some of the produce blends to go with the packs. So that is also something on our radar.
Oh, that's neat. That's neat. So that people are asking, not sold in stores right now, correct?
They are not, but we may do that. We're not really sure at this point. The one thing that's nice about selling these online is that we can bypass the upcharge that associated with the distributor, the broker, the retailer, which that's a really big one, because these are cheap to ship. So we can ship them to people's doorsteps, and people have a range of options as to how they want to ship it and what cost they want to pay. But we can do that, and then we can avoid all those other markups, and we can get this to people even less expensively.
I think the key is letting people know that we actually have the food. I know with the frozen, I still know people that will say, I didn't know you had food. So I think a lot of people, we just have to create an awareness around it. So if you like the food and you're preparing it, take pictures, share it with your friends. It's great. And I think that's the key, though, is just trying to get it out to the masses.
With the frozen food, Kim, where can people find, because I've never seen it where I live in Palm Springs, but where do people find that it's available? Like,
You're on the West Coast. So we are in Publix. Publix was the first supermarket that we got our food into. And we are also in Shaw's, which is on the East Coast as well. And then we are in Lowe's, which is East Coast. And we're hoping we're going to get a West Coast supermarket. I'm not supposed to say anything.
Well, actually, I think it's probably okay.
Yeah.
We had a good meeting, and we're working on some final numbers, and it looks like it's going to be feasible for us to put into this big chain and support it with promotions, and that's Kroger. We will find out next week if they take some of our entrees, but we've got our fingers crossed, because that would open up, not only are they a huge customer, but then that would open up a lot of other
And they're on the West Coast, right?
Yes, and that would get us
right?
into West Coast distribution. So all of the supermarket chains on the West Coast we'd be able to service. So
I always wanted to get this into Walmart, because there's a Walmart in every town all across the country. That would be a dream.
Wow, that would be cool. Question, are there any of them that don't have soy, and are any of them low or no sodium?
You know, I wish I had all the nutritionals in front of me. Some are lower in sodium than others. You
What
know,
we
I don't
tried to do
remember.
is stick pretty close to 1-to-1. We probably went over,
Well, no.
but that's after you put the add-ins in though. When you're just looking at the pack itself, it seems high in sodium because we're only looking at what's in the pack, not all the things that we put in the pack. So, but we don't have any without salt.
Yeah, and there is, you know, there is a range. I don't, I should know that off the top of my head, but I'd have to have the nutritionals out in front of me. There are a couple questions that we've gotten, and I think it's always good just to, you know, address these things head on. One question we've had is several of the meals have a little, it's actually a microscopic trace amount of maltodextrin. Maltodextrin comes from a plant starch, and they use it in sports drinks. It's a carbohydrate. So athletes who, you know, want to replenish their carbohydrates, they'll put it in a sports drink. It imparts a sweet flavor, so they use it to sweeten things. There's a trace, in several of the products, there's truly a microscopic trace amount of this because it's necessary in the production process when you're dealing with powders, like lime juice powder, for example,
this
or the soy sauce powder.
flavorings.
Because otherwise it won't go through the equipment properly. So it's not used really as an ingredient, even though it's on the label and it's in a trace amount. Maltodextrin has a similar effect on the body as sugar. So, you know, if you drink one of those sports drinks and you're getting a lot more of it, you know, you're going to get a glucose spike, you're going to get a glucose surge.
But ours was more for, I guess, it wasn't for, you know, it wasn't.
Yeah, no, it was just, it's truly in a, you know, it's like putting a crystal of salt on your serving. It's just, it's
kind of like if you were to swipe a pan
or salt, sugar.
Yeah, if you were to swipe a pan with a little bit of oil to cook your pancakes on, which sometimes people have to do that if they don't have non-stick. So it's kind of like
it's less than
maybe
that.
less than that.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's not a good example.
Yeah, sorry.
And then there's in a couple of the products it says natural flavors. That is simply lime juice or lemon juice and
Soy sauce.
Vinegar, lemon juice and vinegar powder. So that's all that is.
Yeah.
Nice. Katie says, have you thought of doing an Indian meal starter kit because she loves Indian spices?
Yeah, that'd be a great idea because there's so many spices in Indian food that I think a lot of people get intimidated, and it would be great to prepare one. Actually, I put curry powder in this, and I made curry vegetables, curry Thai vegetables. I think I put curry powder in it and something else. I can't remember. I'll have to look it up. But it had a very nice Indian flair to it. So, but that's a great idea.
Yeah. Mandy wants to know which one is your personal favorite.
My personal favorite is the coconut mushroom. I love that one. We did that when we were on a Nutmeg Notebook with Tammy and her husband, and we actually made that one that night. And Nelson and I ate the whole thing. Serves 4. We ate the whole thing. Yeah. What's your favorite?
You know, I love food, just, you know, all kinds of food.
You do.
And so whenever I get the what's your favorite question, I have a really hard time because every time I sit down to something that's plant-based and has nice flavor to it, I just love it. It's hard to distinguish.
Except you don't like cilantro.
I'm not a big cilantro fan.
This is the coconut mushroom soup. And I'm not really seeing, the person that asked about soy, I'm not really seeing soy in any of these as I look in the labels.
There's some soy powder in a couple of these.
Natural flavor might be there. But this is the one, I'll put it under the camera. This is the one I like because I love mushrooms. It's got sort of a, I don't know, it's tomatoey and it's just really, really good. That would be my favorite. I think your favorite is this one right here, the Alfredo. Yeah.
Yeah, I like all of them.
Yeah, yeah.
Brittany Giroudi's watching. She says she runs the pod in Pittsburgh.
Oh,
Hi, Brittany.
Yeah, so that's something else too that I would encourage everyone to check out is the pod network. There may be a pod in your community And even if there's not, it's easy to start one. And all you need is maybe one other person, and you'll be amazed at how quickly it'll grow, especially after the pandemic is over and people start coming back together again. But if people are interested in that, they can learn about that at plantpurecommunities.org. And
Yeah, if you want to be a leader, you can apply. It's easy. I actually am a pod leader here in our town. We have a pod leader in Chapel Hill. She might be on right now, Elizabeth. And it's great. We get together, we eat at restaurants. We did a grocery store tour together, and we fill up this entire table with food, and we fill up the room. Sometimes your parents have come to visit. It's been really, really fun.
yeah, before the pandemic, we were just really having a blast. But
Yeah.
you know, just the social part of it, just getting together, and you know, the same people tend to come. Sometimes you have newcomers who come into the group, but it's like a big family. And
Yeah.
you know, we sit down and we're all talking, and then usually we say something to get it kicked off, and then we have a nice meal together, and then sometimes at the end, you know, we'll just sit around and talk and take turns, you know, talking and saying things, and it's nice. And now what we're trying to do through this new platform, especially after the pandemic is over, is to give these pods and other groups, you know, things to actually do in the community. So
What's the shelf life on the product?
That's a good question.
yeah, it's
says-
over a year.
It's good until 2022, May of 2022. So it's
So-
good for
it's
over
So it's
a
good
year.
through the pandemic.
Yes,
Yeah, no,
exactly.
these will last a long time.
I think these are also great for college students. I know they're not in school right now, but I think for kids who have apartments and they don't have, you know, scads of spices and pantry items, this is a great way to go because it's pretty inexpensive.
There's
Right.
so many people watching that are previous show guests, and when you have plant-based royalty, you get YouTube royalty. We got Tracy's Real Foods watching. She loves the pod in San Diego, and Jessica Kroc is watching. You know, do you guys remember there was a president, maybe it was Harry Truman, I think, that said he wanted a chicken in every pot. Remember that saying a long time ago? Well, you guys need a chickpea in every pod.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
Yeah. I'm just so excited about our pod network, and that's why I would encourage people who are watching to go check it out.
Yeah, and if you don't really think, if you're nervous about starting up a pod, just start with a small group. Just get 3 or 4 of your friends together, call it a pod, and you know, expand from there. Start your group page on Facebook. You'd be amazed at how many people will just fly in.
Yeah, this is how we're going to make this change. Is, you know, we have to figure out how to create, you know, kind of activist groups and communities all across the country, and empower them to help share the message. The one thing that's been frustrating to me, AJ, is throughout this pandemic, you know, we still haven't heard our political and medical authorities talking about the connection between chronic, of course, we know there's a connection between chronic disease and the worst outcomes from COVID. You know, over 95% of the people who have unfortunately succumbed to this have had these pre-existing conditions, you know, mostly chronic conditions. So we understand that connection, but we don't hear our authorities, you know, ever talking about the connection of nutrition to chronic disease. In fact, if you go to the CDC website, I would challenge everyone watching here today, go to the CDC website, and they have a page for the general public, you know, advising them what to do. And those recommendations are great, by the way. We support every one of them. And then they have a page for people who have pre-existing conditions who are the most vulnerable. And we support those recommendations too. But nowhere on those pages does the word nutrition even come up. And, you know, I think that's criminal, actually. That's terrible. And so what we did is we tried to put together a petition around this to encourage our leaders to share this. And we were all excited about this, and we put it up on opentribe.com. And it's interesting because once we did the post for this, it started to take off. You know, you could see that this was going to go viral. Hundreds of people were right in front of our eyes, were signing this thing. And then all of a sudden it was cut off.
Hmm.
Facebook restricted it.
So where can they go if they want to see this? Because I mean, all these people that are watching should watch this and sign the petition. Go to opentribe.com.
Well, you can go there and sign it.
Yeah, sign the petition.
But when we did a video for this and a meme and stuff, and that we couldn't get circulation of that. And then we started looking at the Facebook content policy, and apparently this falls under some category that they prohibit. And so we just gave up. But anyways, I just tell that story because, you know, there's a lot for us to be optimistic about. You know, this message is getting out, and people like you, AJ, you've been such a big part of this, and others. But man, we still got a lot of work to do. When you look out across the country and you look at how people are suffering, you know, we've barely scratched the surface. And we're not going to really do this unless we could figure out how to empower people locally to carry this message forward, because I just don't see it coming from the top. So
I think Josh had a good idea for your product. He said, why not make a YouTube commercial? You know how like when you're watching YouTube, you see all these commercials for products?
Uh-huh.
Maybe you can.
About that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's a good question.
That's a great, it's a really good idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because if you had one, I'd watch the whole way through. Yeah.
Well, and you know, you search for things, you know how you search for things on Amazon or whatever, and suddenly it appears on your feeds and your emails. And so we want, when people search plant-based, we suddenly appear on their feeds and their emails. And yeah.
We have a good market. We have a really good marketing partner. You know him, AJ, because he works with you too, Justin.
Oh yeah, well then you're sure he's wonderful. He had the idea to make the cruise a vegan cruise when he was a mere teenager.
Really?
Wow, I didn't
know that.
He didn't tell us that.
Yeah, no, he's humble. I actually had him on the show very early on. And, you know, his dad was one of the co-founders of the Holistic Holiday at Sea, along with Sandy Pukel. His dad is John Bellamy and his mom is Jan Bellamy. And he was a teenager and they were doing a macrobiotic cruise, you know, which included fish. And it was kind of a very small thing. And he said, you should just make it vegan. And boy, the thing exploded.
Yeah. He is.
I didn't know. That's deep. I'll have to watch that interview, AJ. I must have missed that one.
Yeah, well, it's okay. I mean, it's okay because considering you're my 400th show, you're entitled to miss.
Justin is such a smart guy, and he just started working with us, so we're really excited about him. And you know, someone else I've just met here recently, AJ. I know that I think you know him quite well. Is Ocean Robbins.
I don't know him well, but I do know him.
Yeah. And
you need to interview him.
Yeah,
it's an interesting story.
Yeah, he's really an amazing person, and we're talking about a project now that you know, I'll be announcing a little later. It has to do with media and film and stuff, but we're going to be working with Food Revolution Network on this project. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, I did interview him once, but before my show was video and audio. But I should contact him. I did ask his dad, but he turned me down.
Oh.
I know. Well, believe it or not, people do say no. So I appreciate it. I appreciate it when they say yes. Do you guys have any more questions for Kim or Nelson? There's a question, and I don't know if you can answer because I think this has probably to do with government regulations from Jeffrey. Why call them natural flavors? I typically would not buy something that uses that term because it's a mystery. I'm glad you explained it. Why don't they just say what it is?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we raised Cain about that,
yeah.
AJ, but it's not the co-packers' fault. They're just following the regulations.
Yeah.
For some reason, those two juice powders are classified as natural flavors. I don't understand it. I don't really have an answer for it, but we were not very happy about that because we've had quite a few questions about natural. What are those? You know, it sounds like something artificial, but all it is lemon juice and vinegar.
Yeah, that's weird, huh? Do you plan to see how well this line does before expanding into maybe other flavors, or do you take requests for flavors?
He's already given me work to do in that department, so I'm working on different things right now. So I think we'll have some more products, you know, fairly soon if Nelson has his way. So yeah.
Yeah, and you know, I I do want to underscore, Kim, when you asked that question before about development of these, Kim is always very humble in how she answers things. But, you know, many of her recipes are in this line. And she is, I think you know this, AJ, and you are as well. In fact, Kim's always complimentary of you and your chef skills.
You know your food. You know your food.
But, you know, Kim has been doing this for 20, 30.
I've been doing it since
30,
I was little.
Yeah, well,
I mean,
cooking since you've been plant-based for 30 some years.
Yeah, but when they didn't have plant-based cookbooks back then, I mean, the best one you could get was Moosewood. That was my Bible for a long time. But
she's been such an important part of all of our product development. So
yeah, and I'm writing a cookbook. I actually just emailed the publisher today, so it's all the recipes are done. Most of them are photographed, and I'm working on the introduction and some things like that. So
do you know when it will come out? And are you allowed to say what the title is?
I don't know. I don't have a title. I need a title.
Well,
it's a lot of sort of comfort traditional foods. I need a title, and I don't know when it's going to come out. I'm hoping maybe before Christmas next year. It's quite a process, and the reason it's a process is the photography. Who Brian is on the other end of the camera. He did the PlantPure Nation cookbook. He did a beautiful job, but it's exhausting. And all the recipes have been tested over and over and over. So that part is done.
Well, you know, AJ, one of the things we're trying to figure out is whether we should go with a publisher or self-publish. And I think you've self-published. So we may want to call you.
Yes, please. My husband and I occasionally teach business classes on why. It just depends what your goals are, but there's some real nice benefits to it.
Yeah, we'll probably call you later and pick your brain on that.
Yeah, I remember talking to you about it a little bit, long time ago. I know I've talked to Kathy Hester, who lives in our neck of the woods, and she's written 10 cookbooks. So she's also given me some advice too, but it seems a little daunting to self-publish. So I don't know.
Actually, I think it's easy. I think it's a lot easier because you don't have to do what you don't have to do what they want. You do what you want. So if you like to be your own boss, and if you like to make more money, self-publishing is a great way to go. I thought of a name for your cookbook. How about Down Home Cooking with the Campbells?
Oh, I like that.
I like that. I like the
keep them coming.
Yeah, I like the down home cooking part.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, the last cookbook, they kept saying, "What's the theme? What is the theme?" And I said, "It's just good food." I had to really come up with a theme, and I don't buy cookbooks that have themes. I don't buy dessert books, or I buy books that have little bits of everything. And my book is heavy in entrees, so we'll see.
Does Colin have a favorite? Colin and Karen have a favorite of these meals, and then people might want to try those first.
You know, they like them all, but they liked. I think she really likes the split pea soup. Didn't she say she really
did
liked
like
the split
that?
pea
I
soup?
thought she liked the coconut mushrooms too.
You know, I'm thinking this would be a great present for people like when colleges open up to send to your kids at school. If somebody's in the hospital or maybe got out of the hospital, like this would be so great because it's not perishable and people could ship it anywhere.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's just so fast and quick and affordable.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Yeah.
It's hard to find a meal for less than $3 these days. Yeah.
Unless you go to a place that we will not mention.
Yeah.
That's like the only place. Wow. Well, this is great. Well, I think the biggest decision people will have to make is not if they should order, but which one to try first.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Brittany says Caribbean beans is one of her favorites. Oh yeah, and she's saying great camping food. That's right. I don't camp. I'm Jewish. We don't camp. We make reservations. But you're right. That's the opposite of what
I don't camp either. I
mean, that's where my princess comes out. I did it once when I was younger. Never again. It's not my thing. But
Nelson's been trying to get me to go on a backpacking trip with him, and I said, "Well, if you really need me to do it, I guess I can do it."
She won't ever go backpacking.
No.
So,
no, maybe a camper. I could do maybe a camper.
Brittany says she glamps. I guess that's glamour. Maybe, if I had my own restroom, maybe, but that'd be funny. Well, it's great catching up with you guys. I love hearing what you're up to, and you're up to always something good, and it's going to change the world, and I appreciate that. And These are great. I do wish you every success. And like you say, I'd love to see them in every Walmart.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah, thank you so much, AJ, for having us on your show and
Of
supporting
course.
us.
You can come
sharing
anytime.
it.
I'm looking to have you back with Jill Dalton, a little bit of a face-off as soon as I figure out the
I
technology.
know, I might be sweating in my armpits on that one.
Or maybe you guys could be a team and then go up against another team. Who knows? I think it would be great. And remember, I used to be a marketing minor in college, a chickpea in every pot. I think that'll be a great
I like
t-shirt.
that.
I
That's
know.
very good.
And Down Home Cooking with the Campbells. I'd buy that book, and then the cover could be like a picture of Colin and Karen and you and Nelson and the kids on the, at the dining room table. People would buy that. I know they would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll be calling you.
You can call me anytime. Well, thank you so much. This was a lot of fun. We'll have to have you back just for your wonderful cooking demonstrations, because people are saying they love you. They love your cooking demonstrations. And you do a live cooking show, so everything's in the show notes. People ask, what are the show notes? Just look below this video. Those are the show notes. Everything is there. Kim put it there herself.
Yeah. And AJ, again, thank you for having us. And also thanks for all that you do.
Yes.
I have no idea how you do this every day during the week.
I know. I wish it was a podcast. I don't mind doing it, but I just hate having to shower and do the hair every day. That's the part that I don't like. But as soon as the pandemic ends, we'll stop the show. So
you're doing a lot of good work.
Wonderful.
You're reaching a lot of people and touching hearts and changing lives. And so
if there's anybody in the plant-based community that you're wondering about, you can usually find it on your show, which is
yeah. I'm trying to get people to know about some of the people that they don't know about. And I've been trying to get your sister on. She was scheduled, and then something happened she was in a different country and couldn't get internet, and then the pandemic. So I need to get her on because I don't know her.
Yeah, she's doing some really interesting work in the Dominican Republic with agriculture, and she's buying.
I just lost sound. Oh, guys, I lost sound. Can you guys hear them? I can't hear them anymore. Can you guys hear me? When he was saying she was doing great work in the Dominican Republic, I lost sound. Can you guys hear me still? And can you hear the Campbells? No sound either. Their sound went, but you can hear me. You can hear. Thank you very much. Guys, I hope you can hear me. If not, I'll call you. They're saying that your sound went. So I'm going to say goodbye to the Campbells and thank them for all their work. And I'm going to thank you guys for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. And we'll see you all tomorrow with another great cooking demo.